Hey, Rejoice. Rejoice, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I the first one?
All right. Let's let all these folks in the meeting. You're the first one. Welcome, everyone. I'm admitting everyone. All right, guys, welcome. I am so glad that you're joining us for this. I'm sure you saw this meeting is being recorded. But if you don't mind being on camera, it makes it a whole lot better to create community. So if you will be on camera, I do appreciate it. Let me share my screen. Turn off the subtitles. This isn't the presentation I want to show you. I've got too many presentations about certification. Are you surprised? There we go. Okay. This is the one I want to show you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. First of all, I'm glad that you're here. Every single one of you. I hope it is not too late for you, but it's at the same time for me, at probably for most of you. So we're just going to do this together. Today, we're going to talk about the BABOK certification prep course for Tampa Bay. This is a prep course that's going to help you if you're looking for the ECBA, the CCBA, or the CBAP. If you don't know what those are, I'll tell you about that in just a minute. My name is Thea Soren. I am the president of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. I'm also the vice president of training and development. I also am one of the authors of the Body of Knowledge, the book that we're going to use to study, and it's the book that's going to help us get through this. I helped write it 10 years ago. I wrote chapters, the techniques, underlying competencies, and the glossary. I'm not responsible for the whole thing. There was a whole team of people from all around the world that contributed.
Somebody
Yes, Siobhan? Okay. You saw Jody in the presentation just a few minutes ago. Jody is one of the graduates of this course from the Tampa Bay chapter. I've got 17 of these that say this course helped them get through it. This is not an easy course. It's going to take 6 months. We're going to do this every Thursday night for an hour and a half, but it gives you the 35 hours that you need to be able to sign up for the application and get through the application. I'm going to say there are benefits to studying the BABOK, even if you're not planning on taking the test, because you get reminded of things that you had forgotten. You might look at your work more strategically. You're going to be reminded of techniques that you hadn't used in a while. You don't have to have a certification to be a good BA. There are many good BAs that do not have a certification, but there are good reasons to get a certification. I'm just going to walk through them real quickly. If you value the certification, if you value the lessons and the learning, if your current or future employer values the certification, if you go on LinkedIn and look at jobs and put in CBAP, you're going to see some jobs that's what they require. In fact, I work at Cincinnati Insurance Companies. My boss is the boss over the business analyst for IT. She has 80 business analysts. We all work remotely. The 80 business analysts are in a center of excellence that's 12 years old. So you know it's a mature center of excellence. She said, I'm going through resumes. We need to hire some contract BAs. And what she said next just tickled me. She said, I've got so many resumes. I'm only looking at those people that have CBAPs. She knows the value of having a CBAP. It means that we all share the same terminology, we all understand the same basic knowledge, and we have ideas of things that we should do. So it's good to have a CBAP, but if you don't have a CBAP, you can still be a good business analyst. CBAP also gives you letters after your name, which is kind of nice if you are looking for a job. People kind of go, oh, look, letters, it's fancy. So let's talk about the 3 certifications. The ECBA, this is for people that have no experience at all. You don't have to have any experience. You don't even have to have references. You do have to pass 50 questions and 50 multiple choice questions. The CCBA is for people that have 2 to 3 years of experience. And I'm going to tell you that when we say experience, we're talking about a wide range. You can be a student and be doing business analysis work and not even know that that's the terminology. You can be an analyst, you can be a salesperson, you can be a teacher, you can be a manager. You're doing business analysis work, you just don't have the terminology yet. So if you don't think you have enough experience to qualify for one of these higher level ones, let's have a conversation offline. The CBAP is the highest level. The IIBA has 30,000 members worldwide, and we have a really good number of those people that have CBAP. So I'm confident that it's not just a few people that can pass it. You can pass this too. But there's a lot of material. But what we're going to do in this course is I'm basically going to give you a map. I'm going to tell you, this is what you need to look for. This is what you need to be aware of. When it comes to the test, you need to know this knowledge. Or when it comes to the test, it's not going to be on there. So you're going to have information that learning on your own would not give you. Now, this is the reason that I think having the IIBA membership is a very important thing. If you are a member, the member in the United States in Region 1, get my cursor over there, it's $139 to be a member. If you're a full-time student, however, it's substantially cheaper. Region 2, Region 3, if you want to know if you live in one of these countries, let me know and I can send you the list. But it's substantially less expensive for those regions. Now, if you're an IIBA member, the application fee is the same as it is for everyone else, but your test fee for, say, the CBAP is $350. The non-member is $505. You're literally saving more money than the membership costs by being a member on this. So that's why I think it's good to be a member. There's all kinds of other benefits of being an IIBA member, but let's just go with that one. Our course, what are we going to do? We're going to spend 6 months together. This is our schedule. I've got the schedule in 2 different formats. If this doesn't tickle your brain, maybe the next one will. We're going to work through today. We're going to just talk about the introduction. Next week, we're going to go through chapters 1 and 2. Pretty easy chapters, but you need to understand these basics. The week after that, we're going to go to chapter 9, which is underlying competencies. The week after that, we're going to go to chapter 11, which is perspectives. These are basic things that are referred to occasionally in the knowledge areas, but I want to get them out of the way so that you have this knowledge whenever we hit the knowledge areas. The knowledge areas are chapters 3 through 8. They are really what the test is going to be about. These are going to give you the concepts that are going to be represented in the test. We're going to spend 2 weeks on each of these chapters. This means that you have to do the study on your own too. You need to be doing about 6 hours of study a week to be able to pass this test. The standard is to pass the CBAP, you need 120 to 160 hours. That means you need to go through it about 3 times. The book is not a small book. I tell you what, give me a raise of hands. How many people already own the BABOK? I see 2, 3. I see the book. Okay. 4, 5. Great. Okay. Very good. Okay. I see 6. Okay. Those of you who, oh, yes, good. Thanks, Rejoice. Those of you who do not have the BABOK, you can, if you're an IIBA member, you can get the free PDF. The cost to get a physical copy is about $57 on Amazon, and they'll have it to you in just a few days. I personally like the physical copy. Let's look at this same schedule in a different format. I'm sorry. Let's look at this right here. We're going to go through chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we're going to stop and we're going to go through your application. There's a good reason I want to wait until then to go through the application. You need to understand what's in the knowledge area to be able to assign the experience that you've had to that knowledge area. Because it's just words. It's like planning and monitoring. Oh, I don't know what that means according to the BABOK, but they want you to be able to say in this job, what percentage of your work did you do that was in this knowledge area? They do not want you to go back to your time card and check out every single thing. They want you to say, I worked there for about 3 years and about half of my time was eliciting requirements. So you know that half of the time we have a spreadsheet that makes it easy. Your start date, your end date, work full time, we know how many hours that is. Half of your time, it does the calculation for you. So we'll know how much time you spent in that knowledge area. Then we're going to go through chapter 8 and we're going to talk about test taking strategies. There's very specific things that will give you a great deal of benefit in taking your test, but we want to talk about them. And then we're going to go through all of the knowledge areas over and over and over the next week. We're going to use a test bank and actually test your knowledge first by knowledge area and then all together. What this is going to do is if you find that you weren't answering the question correctly, you're going to know exactly where in the BABOK to go to say, I need to get this information in my head. Now let's look at this in a different way. Same information, different format. Here are the dates. Here are the different chapters we're going to be working through. We're going to do practice test questions. Again, the application, more practice test questions, test taking strategy, more practice test questions. If you come every single day, you're going to get 37.5 hours of experience, which you have to have 35 to put on your CBAP application. If you study on your own, some of that's going to count too. So you're going to have plenty by the time we get to the application and preparation time to be able to turn in your application. Before I go on, do I have any questions?
I just had a question about the knowledge areas. Does like freelance work for clients? Like I used to be a brand designer. Will that count towards the knowledge area, or do you have to work for a specific employer?
Yes. Let's talk about a brand designer. As a brand designer, you had to identify what your goal is, who you had to talk to, how you're going to document the information, and how you're going to measure how you did, if you did your job well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you had to go and actually work with your stakeholders and get their ideas of what do you need and what are your standard colors and what kind of designs have you used in the past and what's your time limit. You had to get your requirements, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then you worked through it. You showed them examples. You made corrections. You've got to your final product and you checked to be sure that that met their needs, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then maybe sometimes you had to look at an existing brand and say, how is it not working? How does it not align with your current needs? And so that's evaluating a solution, right?
Yeah.
Those are all business analysis. You just didn't have the terminology then of that's what we would call it as a business analyst. You had it in your own terminology. The key we have to do is when we work on your application, we have to be sure your application is in business analysis terms. There was a time that project managers would come in and, I was a project manager for 5 years. I've been a BA for 2 years. And a lot of things project managers do, we call business analysis, but they would put it in project management terms in their application and get it kicked back because it didn't look like business analysis that way. We have to be sure that we put the verbiage in as a business analyst. That's one reason you got to learn the voice of the BABOK, because that tells you the verbiage that you're going to need to use. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions before I go on? Okay. So our final goal is to take a whole bunch of knowledge. And I tell you, you could drown in it if you didn't do it very systematically. And you want to organize it in such a way that it's beautiful and accessible. This is my analogy. You want to be sure that you know what's in each knowledge area. You want to know all the glossary. You want to know your terms. You want to know your stakeholders. You want to know everything. You want it perfect. But before you get there, you got to empty your closet. You're going to take everything out and lay it out and be working on it. You're going to be so excited about the end product, but somewhere in the middle, you're going to get tired and you're going to look at this and go, what have I done? I can't even take a nap because all the stuff is out. And you're going to be tempted to give up. But I'm going to tell you that you just spent an amount of time working and putting the information in and gathering some of this knowledge that you didn't have before that's made you better. If you give up now, you've lost and you wasted all of that. So I'm going to tell you whenever we get there, and some of y'all are going to go, I'm tired. We're going to say, but we're going to keep going together. And we can keep going together. I've taught 12 boot camps and I've taught 12 study groups that are at least 14 weeks long each. And I lead people through this and I get you to the end and you're able to take the test. I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to pass it the first time you take it. You might have to learn how to take the test, but I can guarantee that you will be given the equipment to be able to pass it if you put the effort in. This is one of those things that the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. Okay. The BABOK, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. Some people accidentally call it the Book of Knowledge, but I'm going to tell you it's the body of knowledge. That way, whenever you say it, people aren't going to look at you like you don't know what you're talking about. It's the body of knowledge. It's a whole body. And I tell you, it can dance. So first thing is I'm going to give you some study hints. And you need to understand how it's organized. So the whole book is organized in chapters, and I want you to understand it this way. And I want you to understand it this way because I've literally taken my BABOK and had it rebound into spirals in this format. Because very often you're looking at a knowledge area and you also need to be looking at the technique. Having it in two different spirals is so beneficial. If you have an organization like a copy center in your company that will do this for you, they cut off the spine and they put the spiral in, and I've got the plastic copy cover on the front and back. It makes it so good, but this is what I would suggest. I like it in 3. I like all the blues together, your introduction and your structure, your key concepts, your underlying competencies, and your perspectives in 1. I like your knowledge areas in 1. And I like your techniques and glossary and appendices in the 3rd one, so that you can have them out on your desk. Now, for mine, this is my techniques for both the Watermark book and the BABOK. And I put a tab in here so I could look at the difference, because Watermark has like the Cliff Notes version of techniques, but the BABOK has everything. And so very often I'm looking at the BABOK. And then my next one, this is my Watermark, chapters 1, 2, 9, and 10. This is my BABOK, chapters 1, 2, 9, and 10. Because sometimes I'm going to want to look at, what does the Watermark say versus the BABOK? And then I have the same thing. These are my knowledge areas, chapters 3 through 8 for each of the 2 books. It makes it, I pulled these out of a Kinko's and just had them put them in so that they're flush. And I want you to notice Watermark is almost twice as thick as the BABOK in the knowledge areas, because it has so much good stuff in it. Those of you who are in the United States will be sending you a Watermark book. The person that we have to order it from is on vacation for 2 weeks. So it's going to be delayed just a little bit, but you're going to be getting it. Go ahead and get your BABOK if you don't have it. Get a hold of the PDF if you don't have the physical copy, and you can read chapters 1 and 2. And I'm going to show you a cool thing, especially if you're a member of the IIBA, in just a few minutes about how to access that information. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about is this. This is the BABOK certification. Some of you may be confused as to which certification that you're looking at. So I want to just level set, be sure you know what you're aiming it for. All of the study we're going to do will apply to all of these, but your final certification is going to depend on this. If you have no experience, you have no education requirements on this, and you don't have any references that are needed, that's your ECBA. ECBA is 50 questions. I think it's an hour to finish that. It's multiple choice. It's rather easy, but as you see, there's a lot of material that you need to be able to answer the question correctly. The CCBA is for people that have 2 to 3 years of experience, and they've calculated it down to hours, and it's within the last 7 years. So if you have been a student, a manager, a trainer, an analyst, scientist, so many things, we can probably find your hours in that. And being honest, absolutely honest, because they do audit. This has high amounts of integrity. We don't want to damage the integrity of all the people that have earned their certifications. Within this, you need to have a minimum of 900 hours in 2 of the 6 knowledge areas. So we will do the calculations for you. Or you have to have a minimum of 500 hours in 4 of the 6 knowledge areas. I guarantee the calculations are hard, but you do need to have it spread across if that's the case. For the CBAP, it's for people that have at least 5 years of experience, and that's over the last 10 years. So let's say you took care of your mother for the last 5 years because she was ill. But 5 years before that, you had work that would qualify. It still counts. We can still count it. With this experience, again, it has to be split out by knowledge area. And so we will do that together. Now, for both of these, you have to have professional development hours. This course will give you all the professional development hours that you need. So you don't have to go to another course. You don't have to do another thing. Study on your own and participate in this course. Participating is important. I've really thought about this a lot. If you just attend and never participate, should I give you credit whenever the people that are really participating are contributing and learning? I don't know. I'm thinking about that. I think you need to participate because that's how you learn. You can't learn otherwise. The professional development can be formal training and courses, which this is, self-study and webinar, mentoring and coaching, conferences and seminars, professional association activities, and contributing to the profession, which means you write a blog, you write a book, you present at a seminar. All of those things count. And then you need to have 2 references. One of those references is best if it's a CBAP holder, a career manager, the person that's responsible for your performance review, or a client. Any of those people you have to have known for at least 6 months. Ironically, this course is 6 months long and I'm a CBAP. So look at there. It works, right? Whenever you turn in your application, for those people that they're going to check your references, they will immediately send that email out to them. Those people need to be aware. They need to be primed that they need to accept it and affirm that you do have that experience, and they need to respond back within a week. So you've got to kind of coordinate this like a dance. For the application itself, my personal estimation, and I don't know, but my personal estimation is about 20% of the people have the whole thing audited. They will go and check your references. They will call your past bosses, whoever you put as, that your coworker that says, yes, you did work there for 6 months, whatever. They will check all of that. 20% of them, they'll send out just the references, and the rest of them, they just accept. So there's no way to know which is which. I suggest that you just be honest and detailed, and I'll work with you on your application. Any questions on this? Either I'm doing a really great job or y'all are just bored. I don't know which. Okay.
I have questions. This is Bonnie, but I'm recertification, so I'm just trying to leave the floor for the newbies.
Okay, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yeah. So for recertification, like I've looking at this, folks who haven't taken it, I have to be just as diligent as you would be as you're preparing, because I have my professional association activities. I participate in, there's an annual, what is it called? The BAD conference, the business
Yeah.
analyst. Yeah, right. So I do that every year,
You're
right?
bad.
So Thea, I may need help from you in terms of things like writing a blog or something to that effect so that I can contribute for my more professional associations there and contributions to the profession. So that's probably more contributions to the profession where I'll need your help.
Okay. Let
okay.
me say, Bonnie, you
Yeah.
don't have to do each one of those categories. Those categories are available to you. As
Yeah.
long as you get the number of hours you need, you
Mhm.
can skip the rest.
Okay, see, Thea, you have me as an overachiever. I want to do everything. Folks, this
Then
is what I'm
do
trying
it.
to tell you. Right. This is what
Yes.
I'm trying to tell you, folks. What Thea is telling you, I went through this process. Again, the best thing I could do was find the Tampa Bay group. So again, she's saying it's not required, but just so you know, I want to hit all of those areas just because. And that's the value that I've gotten from this group. So
Wonderful.
join. Yeah, join.
And bring your friends. My
Yes,
goodness gracious. If it's good, it's good. You want to share it, right?
absolutely.
So what I've discovered is the people that go through this and really invest, they end up wanting to help. They volunteer to lead chapters. I mean, think about if you're in a room full of other applicants and you're one of a chapter leader and all the other applicants, they just kind of ride along. And the guy that's looking over y'all say, you're a chapter leader. You really care about the profession. You contribute. You're active. Don't you think you're going to stand head and shoulders above the rest of the people in the room? Right? So I think that what Bonnie is saying, wanting to contribute, wanting to do professional association activities, things like that really is good for your career. But just talking about certification, that's not necessary right now. We can talk about that later. Let's get you certified. Okay. Let's see. I have said a couple of times that knowing what's in the BABOK is important because what is in the knowledge areas feed into the application. So I can't stress that enough. You can look at the application online if you're an IIBA member or not. You can access the beginning of the application, but until you pay for the application, you can't see the rest of it. So you might as well wait till you're ready to turn in your application to make the payment and move on. Once you make your payment for your application, you have a year to get it finished. Wait, is that right? No, I'm maybe getting mixed up. Once you pay for your application, once it's accepted, you have a year to take the test.
Correct. Yes, that's what it is.
Yes,
You're to
yes.
take the exam, right?
I don't think you have a limit on how long it takes you to get your application done. But once it's accepted, you have a year from then to take the test. So
Right.
we want to get you ready to go, ready to take the test. Let's get your application accepted and then get you ready in there to actually go take your test. So you have some breathing room. Okay, let's talk about the BABOK itself. Tell me, has everyone seen my breakdown of the BABOK, how it's structured? Is there anyone that hasn't seen this? Okay, well, let me flip through this really quickly. I don't think there's anything else in here that y'all need if you've already seen it. The structure of the BABOK, we're going to go over a little bit more in next week's class in chapters 1 and 2. The structure of the BABOK is included. One of the things I want you to understand is as we talk about the BABOK, I'm going to explain the structure. I'm going to show you how things are related so that you can easily map it in your head and understand things like, for instance, business needs is an input into 4 of the tasks. But that makes no sense until you start thinking, what are the scenarios in which I need business needs? We're going to take the concepts from the BABOK and relate them to scenarios in your own life, things that you can understand, because that's the only way to get that knowledge into your head. Random concepts float around for me. I can't keep track of them. But if I think about a project I've done, the people I've worked with, the things that I've done, and we talk about it and we can share it with each other, then it's like, oh, I've got it. I know why in this situation I would do this thing. In this situation, I need to include these stakeholders because these stakeholders have their own roles. So we're going to relate the concepts and guidelines in the BABOK to actual scenarios as we study. I'm not sure if I showed all of y'all because I'm not sure how many classes y'all have been in recently, but I want to be sure y'all hear this. So in case 2 of you didn't hear it, I'm going to say it again. The BABOK aligns with your experience about 90%. 90% of the stuff that you read in the BABOK, it's like, yep, that's exactly what I would do. And then 10%, it's like, no, that's not exactly what I would do. So remember, BABOK first was written for an international audience. So they had to write it in a way so that it was kind of this, what everybody in the world would do. But you know, what you do if you live in Brazil is not exactly the way I would do that living in Texas, right? So it is a little bit different. And I've had people get almost upset. It's like, why should I learn something if that's not the way I would do it? But think about it this way. If I leave the company I work for and go to a brand new company and they say, at this company, we have a PMO and our PMO says we have to do things this way. It doesn't matter what you would do before. You do it the way the company says. So we are going to learn things the way the BABOK says it should be. And then you're going to take the test and you're going to have the ideas of maybe I could consider doing this, but it's not necessarily the way I do it right now. All of this is going to give you new considerations on techniques and how to relate and things to consider and things to bring in. Not all of it's stuff that you're going to do. We're going to learn that in chapters 1 and 2. This is not a saying that every single thing in here you must do. In fact, every single thing in here are suggestions. Some of them are really good suggestions, things that I looked at it and went, I should have been doing that. I felt silly because it made so much sense, but I hadn't thought about it until I studied it. So it's going to align with your own experiences about 90%. So whenever we answer the test questions in the watermark test bank, we're going to always say, what does the BABOK say? We're going to study the BABOK so much, you're going to read it so much that you're going to learn the voice of the BABOK. You're going to read this question and go, I know the answer to that, because you know what the BABOK says. So a lot of things in the test are quotes straight out of the BABOK. So you've got to learn it. I used to tell my students, and I'm going to tell y'all, Secret Service agents for the US government have to study $100 bills. They have to study them so much that they don't know that they're learning. But if they see a counterfeit, they know it's a counterfeit because it doesn't line up with what they know. I want you to learn the BABOK that deeply. So, how many of you have seen Watermark's test bank? Raise your hand if you've ever seen this. Okay. All right. Bonnie's seen it. Yes. I've used this for literally a decade. And the reason I like to use it is because not only is it allowing me to choose the CBAP, but it allows me to choose which knowledge area that I want to focus on. So as we work through chapter 3, we are going to just work on chapter 3 and nothing else. And we're going to have questions that look something like this. What is the output of the managed stakeholder collaboration task? So it's asking us a question and giving us 4 answers. And the way I do this is I'm going to read the question, then I'm going to read all 4 answers, and I'm going to move my cursor as I read the 4 answers. And I need you to follow along because sometimes I accidentally get a word wrong because, you know, I've been talking all day long. I've been reading all day long, and I need you to check me. Doing this, the reason I like this layout is it's very similar to what you're going to see on the test. This is an example of the actual test. The question, the 4 answers, and then you hit answer. Additionally, and we'll go through this again when we talk about your test strategy, on this you have your navigation buttons. You can see I'm on question 1. You could click here and jump to question 10. It's how you navigate this way. If you answer a question, you go, you know what? I'm not quite sure that was right. you can flag it. And then it'll show a little flag above that one, and you can see which ones are flagged. You got your navigation buttons here that is previous, next, new, or next. You have your timer that counts down 3.5 hours of time. And if you have to end the test, if you have a panic attack and you can't go on and you just want to get out of there, don't do it. Just take the test. But you can, it gives you the option to end the test. Again, we're going to talk about this again when we talk about test taking strategies. I've got my own experience, and I've got experience from about 120 other people that have come back and said, I wish I'd known this before I took the test, or I was really surprised by this whenever I took the test. So I'm going to have all of that for you. So whenever we're answering the practice test questions, we want to read the word carefully. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, I thought that was a totally different word, or I missed the not. Yes, Amal.
Hi, Kia.
Hi.
A quick question. So if we participate in this study group, are we going to get access to the watermark question banks as well?
We're going to use the watermark question banks together. They do have a subscription that you can get yourself. And I will find out in 2 weeks if I can get you a discount on that. The subscription is 90 days. I think they've got a longer one as well, but it's a 90-day unlimited. You can use it over and over. It keeps a record of all the tests that you've taken. You can go back and look at the ones that were wrong. You can look at all of them. It will give you all the answers for all 4 questions. I have had several people that they work with me until they get to the very end, and then they get a 30-day subscription, and then they drill themselves. And I think it's a really good idea. We're going to be working together for an hour and a half a day. Whenever you take your final test at your real CBAP test, it's 3.5 hours. If you have not developed some endurance and resilience, you're going to hit a wall. And it's normal. Yes, Bob.
Was just going to say, not to throw a monkey wrench in this business, that sometimes when we talk about these things, we recognize that not all of the watermark questions really make as much sense as maybe they should. They aren't sufficiently clear. We'll talk about some things like that. Just be aware of it. When you get to the actual exam, on the day those questions are more clear and of higher consistent quality.
Right.
So the watermark questions are a great resource. You should use them, but it's not going to be quite as clean as you might hope.
Right. So the watermark questions are actually harder than the actual test. And what I found is that, yes, Bonnie?
I have to agree. So I just wanted to go back and just reiterate. It's very important to also listen to what Bob said, because he had said that a couple of times. And when I was sitting in that exam, I said, this is what Bob meant, because I had to flag a couple of questions to come back to. And I said, this is what Bob was talking about. So it does hit you at some point in time, right? So you may be cruising, and then all of a sudden you'll hit a question that you're like, what? That's what when you need to say to yourself, this is what Bob was talking about. Thanks, Thea. That's all I wanted to say.
It's true. So again, the questions from Watermark are actually harder than the actual test. And some of them could be a little bit better. In fact, I have some screenshots of things I'm sending back to Watermark to say, fix this. It's stupid. But if we run across those, we just say that's wonky. That's just not what we want. We know better than this, and we learn and we go on. Watermark questions also have some, which one is not the right answer. You'll never see that on the actual test. The watermark questions will have questions about what is the input into this task or something like that, you're not going to see those on the test either. However, learning that is really good to help you really grasp the concepts of how this flows through. And the concept is what you have to apply to the scenarios. So the watermark questions I found are just really beneficial to use. And that's why I've stuck with them for literally 10 years. Read the question carefully. I said it's common to miss words. I will read the question and people will answer it. And I'm going, they didn't hear this word. We learn. You have to pay attention to what mistakes are you making so that you can fix it. You know, if you commonly miss words, you better read the question twice from now on. I mean, you figure out what your coping mechanism is to counteract your weaknesses. Also, what I've discovered just in the last 2 years is this is super effective. Whenever I read a question and read the answers, the first thing I'm going to say is what knowledge area, if it is multiple knowledge areas, and which task is it? And here's the reason for that. Here's an example. Which of the following outputs will identify the stakeholders who will be responsible for setting priorities? If you know chapter 3, you know that that's only one task that could be. So we know that we're working chapter 3. Here are the 5 tasks that are available. If we know that stakeholders setting priorities is in the governance area, we know that we're in the plan business analysis governance. If we know we're in the plan business analysis governance, we know that there's only one output. Look at the question, guys. Where's my cursor? Move it. It's an output. It's telling you what it's asking for, okay? So there's only one output to this one task, so we know which one it has to be. Now, on another area, we want you to know what the critical words are to look for. Again, in this particular question, there was the word output. So even if you don't know which task it is, you know that you're looking for an output. Not all of these are outputs. Also, whenever we read a question, after we identify the knowledge area and the task, I'm going to say, are there any answers that are not right that we can eliminate? So in this particular question, we know we can eliminate these 2 because they belong to totally different tasks. They don't fit this at all. So even if we didn't know what the task was, we've eliminated 2. Even if you guessed, you now have a 50% chance of getting it right instead of just a 25% chance. So these are techniques that we've developed in answering the questions that are super effective and people pass. This particular one, we answered governance approach. I like watermark because watermark will tell you the reason. Very often it will quote the BABOK and it will tell you where in the BABOK you can find this. So if you weren't quite sure, or if you got it wrong, say we chose B, it would tell us probably why B was wrong, and it would tell us why this one is correct. Anytime we get a wrong answer, it's just an opportunity to figure out what our gap is that we need to fix. So we have the reference of exactly where to go look, and it's not a bad thing whenever you make an error while you're in the practice session. We don't want to make the errors when we're in the test. So we make the errors when we're in practice so that we can learn and we don't spend time beating ourselves up. However, I'm going to tell you a funny story. We had a member of my last study group, his name was Van, and he started saying every time we would, collectively agree, we think this is the answer and it was wrong. And he would say, dang it. Well, he said it so consistently that we had to make a little voice recording of it so we could put it on our computer. So when we were studying, we could hear Van say, yeah, it was just funny. Just lighthearted humor, lighten the situation. But seriously, whenever you make a mistake, whenever you're studying and you're practicing, it's good because it's telling you where you have a gap. You need knowledge, right? You want to learn it now so that you have it when you go take the test. So let's talk about planning your dates. We are here. We are here. No, today's not 21st, is it? Today's 27th. We are right here on the 27th. This is 6 months. 6 months of opportunity that you have to book your time. If you study best in the morning, give yourself an hour every morning. If you study best in the evening, plan. You need to study about 6 hours a week to get the right number of hours to be able to pass. Now, I said it in the last meeting. I don't know if you were here, so I'm going to say it again. The CBAP test requires someone to study, as from examples and experience that I've worked with hundreds of people now, between 120 and 160 hours. You passing this shows that you've put the time in, but you've got to be consistent. I would suggest that you plan 6 hours a week. This class is going to be an hour and a half. Give yourself 5 more hours. That way, if you only get 4.5, you still have your 6 hours. And I'm going to also say, be consistent. I had a student in my last class. We studied and studied and studied, and she was a rock star. And we had the week of Thanksgiving, and she says, I'm taking Thanksgiving off. I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to, take a break. She came back and cried because coming back, studying the same things that she'd been studying, she said, I feel like I've lost so much, because she didn't have the consistent repetition of keep learning it. She was building a structure, and by not studying, she had lost a good chunk of it. She decided that was never going to happen again. She learned from it. I want you to not make that same mistake. Plan your time. Make this a priority enough where you set aside the time, you give it to yourself, you give yourself the gift of consistency, and you keep studying. There's a bunch of different ways to study. Let's talk about that for a minute. I tried a couple of different ways. Now, as I told you, I've taught this course over and over and over. Teaching it is a very different focus than learning yourself. Teaching, I'm watching your faces. Those of you who are on camera, thank you very much. I am checking the time. I'm checking technology. I'm checking the chat. I'm thinking about the next thing I need to say. I'm thinking about, did I say everything right? I'm pronouncing my words properly. My focus is not me learning. Whenever I started, I said, you know what? My test anxiety has kept me tied up too long. It's time for me to do this. Whenever I started learning for myself, I was stunned. I felt stupid because I wasn't able to take in things the way I expected to. It's like, I've been teaching this. I should be a superstar. I should be a rock star. I should be a superhero. Guys, I wasn't. I'm human. Okay. What I discovered is I tried a few things, and it's like, that's not giving me what I tried flashcards. I don't like flashcards. Guess what? I have ADD. Can you tell? I have ADD. I lost half my flashcards. I wanted to color code them, and it just got to be a mess. Flashcards were not my thing. It might be your thing. There's great flashcards. Make your own flashcards, buy your flashcards. I don't care how you do it. I tried a couple of different things, and I had to go back to the way I studied in high school. Let's see. Do I have them here? I have them somewhere. I don't know where I put them. Okay, I have ADD. I just proved it. I just dropped my book. I had to go back to composition books, and I had to write out, if I were to teach somebody else this, what would I want to say to them? What are the details? How would I make a table? How would I present this? I had to write it out. I'm kinesthetic, I'm visual, I'm auditory. I had to get my hands deep into it and write it out. I have 2 different composition books now, and it's not organized really well because I went from place to place, as I worked through it, and then I worked through it again. It worked for me. Figure out what works for you. Figure out, do you need low light? Do you need bright light? Do you want to work in study groups all the time? Do you want to work by yourself part of the time? How do you study best? Cater to you and treat yourself like somebody you love. I'm gonna step aside for a second. If you had somebody that was the same gender, that was a little younger, maybe a younger sister, a nephew, a niece, somebody like that, and they were approaching this, would you tell them, you can do this, you've got it, you're gonna rock this? Right? Yeah? Okay. Are you telling yourself that same thing? Or are you telling yourself, I don't know if I can do this. This sounds really hard. Maybe I just shouldn't even try. Why are you treating yourself differently than you would treat somebody you love? You are somebody you love, and you react the way you talk to yourself. Talk to yourself as you're somebody you love, okay? Give yourself the grace to make a mistake. Give yourself the grace to say, I don't know everything. I have things to learn. I have capacity, I have capability, and I'm going to dig into this over and over and over and get it in my head. And then I'm going to rock this test. Okay. So let's talk about the application. I realize we're not going to go deep into it right now, but I want to say this. For the experience over the last 10 years, you need 5 years of experience documented about that fit into your knowledge areas. To do that, the easiest way to do it is to pull out your resume. So if your resume only has, say, 2 years on it, find your older resumes and just get them together, because you need your start date, you need your end date, you need people's names that you worked with, you need 2 sentences that explain basically high level what you did at that company. So just grab them, throw them in a folder so that you have them whenever it's time. And that way you don't have to stress about it then. So as you run across them, put them together. I have a spreadsheet that I created, and then Aaron Wittenberger said, hey, I think we can make it better, because, you know, that's what BAs do. And we worked on it. He helped me with some formulas, and basically it does a lot of the math for you so that you can easily look at that and go, yes, I have enough hours in each of the knowledge areas that I need. In fact, I have more than I need. And it's better to have more. That way, if they decide they want to kick something out, you have more. I have enough to go in, and then you can just drop it into their application. I don't know if I said it earlier. Once you begin a job or a training or any module that you're adding into your application, you've got 7 days from the time you begin it to the time it's locked down. After it's locked down, you have to go through lots of hoops, contact them, ask them to unlock it for another day or something. So having it all in the spreadsheet, because we have both your work experience and your training all on one spreadsheet on 2 different tabs, then you just drop it in there and it's done. It makes it easy. I said earlier, immediately upon submitting your application, the emails will be sent to your references. So begin thinking about, who do you want your references to be? They need to be people that are responsible, that are alert, that will respond. Okay. So just think about it. You don't have to worry about it yet. Let's see. Let's talk about actually taking the test. People want to know, what is it we're looking at? This is a proctored test. In case you don't know what that means, it means that you will be checked to be sure that you're not cheating before you take the test. You're going to be wanded if you're at a proctored location, you know, like they do at TSA with the wand, to be sure you don't have like a Bluetooth on you. One of my recent class members, they checked her ear to be sure she didn't have Bluetooth in her ear. Then they checked behind her ear. Then they touched inside of her ear. It kind of freaked her out just a little bit. I'm telling you that just so you know, it's a possibility. So if it happens, it doesn't freak you out. It's just a possibility. They'll ask you to pull up your sleeves. They'll ask you to pull up your pants legs. I had a hoodie on because I'd been told it's kind of cold in there, and I decided I was going to wear layers. They wanted me to flap out my hoodie. They wanted to see inside the pocket. I had to raise my hair up. You know, they want to be sure that you're being honest. Then they're going to check your government issued ID. They're going to give you a bag. It's like a bank money bag. And they're going to say, put your ID, put your phone, put your keys, anything that's like that, put it in the bag. They're going to zip it up, lock it, then they'll hand the bag back to you. They're not taking it. They're going to ask you to hang it on the back of your chair. You're going to go into the room, and it looks like any other testing center in any college. It's like little cubicles. It's got its own computer. You're going to sit down. They're going to have given you your ID number and a key entry, and you type it in and you start your test. Now, I prefer that over doing it at home. And the reason for that, incidentally, they watch you the entire time. Either way. So if you're at home, you can't have anything on your walls. Look at my wall. I'm in trouble, right? You can't have any books in the room. They want you to take your camera and show underneath the desk. They want to show all the drawers are empty. They want to show, I mean, I had somebody say they made them touch a framed picture to prove it wasn't a monitor. You know, they just had a picture showing. I've had people tell me that they ended up taking their test in a bathroom in their home or in a hallway in their home. Additionally, I had trouble whenever I tried to do it at home the first time because I kept getting, you have a firewall issue, or you have, you know, you have virus detection stuff that's causing problems. I don't want to be responsible for all the technical stuff. Okay. I don't want to have to worry about what's on my walls or anything like that. I just want to go to a proctored location. I told you they're going to be watching you the entire time. I've had people look up at the ceiling and mumble, and somebody comes on the thing and says, "Who are you talking to?" They want to be sure that you're being honest, because the integrity of all the people that have passed, they want to maintain that, and they want to prove that you were earning this really for real, right? No cheating or being honest. That's the way it is. I've had people contact me, especially by phone and email, saying, "I'll take the test for you." There's no way they could take the test for you. They tell me that they can mock into my computer and take the test. The integrity is not there. We're not playing that game. You know, I basically tell them that it's not honest. And they're like, "Oh no, you don't have time. You have a job." And I'm like, "No, this is integrity. We're going to do this right." Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. It's important that we're honest, and it's important that you really absorb this information and then you go earn it. You will be amazed at what you feel. You take the test, you hit submit, you're going to have almost immediately, within 30 seconds, your answer. Your answer is one of two things. Congratulations, you've passed, or unfortunately, you have failed. If you have failed, or if you have passed, it's going to send you an email to your registered email immediately, and it's going to tell you what your results are by knowledge area. So it's going to say lower if you failed that knowledge area. It's going to say comparable if you are about even with everybody else, or it's going to say higher if you excelled. Okay. Now, being absolutely transparent, my test anxiety got me the first time. I didn't pass the first time. But taking the test let me know what it was like to take the test. I had not taken a proctored test before. And so I didn't pass the test. I came home, I signed in, I made a reservation to take it in 1 week. I paid I think it's $299. For that week, I studied. That was my job, to study. I had taken the week off work, I studied. Whenever I went back, guys, I got 4 out of the 6 areas higher, and I passed. So I had a choice. I had people on 5 continents knowing that I was going to take a test. I had people that I trained knowing I was going to take a test. I could have hidden in my shell with embarrassment and humiliation and stopped and lost all of the knowledge that I'd been working to gain and not gotten any further. So I chose something different. I chose to keep going, and I succeeded. And now I have it. I've got the letters after my name. Now I can teach the courses legitimately, instead of just like, I know how to teach the courses. I know the material deeply now, much better than I did before. Okay, next thing. This is Maslow's theory, hierarchy of needs. Most of you probably know exactly what this is. This is basically a way to say, in this part of my life, this is the section I'm in. You see it here at the bottom: psychological needs. You need air, you need water. Safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, love and belonging. I need relationships with people. Especially if you're an extrovert, you need relationships with people. If you don't have these things, it's a hard place to be. If you have the looming threat of unemployment, if you have a medical diagnosis, if someone you love is missing, those things make it super hard to learn and to be creative. You're not always going to be there. You're not always going to be where I call in the pits. You're going to be there sometimes. That's normal for life. Whenever you're in this section, be careful and be so that you're charitable with yourself. Don't expect you to be superhuman, superhero like I did. Give yourself a little break. 6 hours a week typically is not a hard thing to do, but whenever it's hard to concentrate, you might have to just like, you know what? I'm only going to do 30 minutes a day instead of a whole hour, you know? Telling you personal story. I was in a situation where I felt like I was running for my life. I was living in people's couches for 6 weeks. I had this class to give every single week, and this class was, I can feel normal for this time. My life didn't change behind me. I was still in that situation. I still had somebody chasing me. But for this 1 week that I was teaching the Tampa Bay IIBA, I could be me and be doing this thing that I knew I could do. And so I want to tell you that take that idea and apply it to studying. For this 1 hour, no matter what else is happening, I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to absorb this information. I just have to get through one task. I just have to get through one task an hour and I'm fine. I mean, one task is, you could do that in an hour, right? Whenever you're in the peak at the mountaintops, the good times, I've had people say, I've got a great job. I don't need to worry about this right now. Then they call me in 6 months and go, I was laid off. I sure wish I'd done it whenever everything was good. Do it whenever you can. Don't discount it just because times are good right now. If you have bandwidth, invest in yourself. Okay, that is the end of that slideshow. Let me move this over. First, before I go into this, I'm going to ask, do we have any questions?
Yes, Thea, this is Bonnie. Did
Yes,
you
Bonnie.
did you say that now I have the BABOK, would I be able to get the watermark?
Bonnie, if you want us to send you the watermark, if you want to pay for this class, it will pay for us to be able to send you the watermark book as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, Bonnie, let me tell you,
Yes.
after everyone passes their CBAP, you need to recertify, which means you need a certain number of education credits after that. Bonnie, you can immediately put in anything that you do, a seminar, a webinar, a class, you can put that in the IIBA website directly, and you don't have to keep it on a spreadsheet on the side. You can put it in there and it will keep track of it for you.
Okay, awesome. I'll probably need your help with a couple of things because I did take a couple of classes, but I need your help later. I didn't want to take up the time.
Sure.
But
That's
thank you,
fine.
Thea. That's awesome.
Watermark, I'm sorry, IIBA makes it pretty easy, but getting your initial thing in, it's just easier to do it on a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see here, I'm signed in, and this is the IIBA website. I'm in the Knowledge Hub. This is the introduction to the BABOK. If you don't have the BABOK itself and you want to see it, this is like the Cliff Notes version. Here's the introduction. And then here's the purpose of the BABOK. You need to know this. There's actually test questions on what is the purpose of the BABOK. Here's the primary purpose of the BABOK. Here is what is business analysis. Before we get all the way through this, you will have memorized, and you might as well start it at the front. Here are the names of the 6 knowledge areas. Now, those of you who like mnemonics is such a weird word. It's not even spelled the way it sounds because I think it's French or something. Mnemonics are letters that it's a word that you take it apart and each letter means something that reminds you of pieces. There are mnemonics created for almost everything. If your brain works in a way that mnemonics make sense to you, they're out there and we can pull them in if that's valuable to you. However, it didn't make any sense to me. It's like, why would I have to learn Kara's soup Kara soup, it's a mnemonic that is in the, it's in there. And if it tells you the list of all these things that are, like elements of this one thing. I didn't want to learn Kara soup. I wanted to learn the things. So learn mnemonics if it works for you. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. But you're going to learn these knowledge areas. There's a mnemonic for the knowledge areas. The knowledge areas, I told you, they kind of overlap. There's your pre-project, your plan, business analysis, planning and monitoring. Knowledge area 3 is all you start it before your project. However, some of the things you're going to go back and do again. For instance, you're going to create your stakeholder list. That's part of that knowledge area. But if you're in the middle of a project and you have a stakeholder change, this person left, this other person came in, you're going to go back to your stakeholder list and update it. So it doesn't just live at the beginning of your project. And then strategy analysis overlaps with requirements analysis, design definition, and then that overlaps with solution evaluation. So you're going to be doing some of these things at the same time, but we're going to talk about them in knowledge area in like a unit. And as you get deeper into it, you're going to see how they you're doing it at the same time. Then, what is business analysis? Let me see a show of hands if you are not an IIBA member right now. Okay, awesome. That means you all have access to the PDF of the BABOK, which you can download onto your own computer. And you also have access to all of this. So you can just go through and look at it this way. And this is, I did everything in chapters 1 and 2. Key terms, you need to know key terms. So I'm going to tell you for our meeting next week, please read chapters 1 and 2. Get a really good grasp of what it's talking about. Any questions? Okay. If you get through chapters 1 and 2 and you feel like I've got 3 days left, I need to be studying more, read the glossary. I know that sounds really dry, but the way the BABOK uses some terms is a little different. I know I wrote it, but I had to write it according to the BABOK, okay? Just walk through the glossary and read stuff and look and see, is there something that surprises you? Do they use a word in a way that you're not familiar with or you're not used to? And what I want you to do in chapters 1, 2, and the glossary is bring your questions back next week. And I'm going to have test questions for us. Watermark doesn't have test questions for chapters 1 and 2 anymore, but I've created test questions for us to go through. And we're going to go through it just like we would if it was Watermark. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to read the answers. And sometimes I got to read a lot because there's a lot to, the multiple choice answers. Sometimes they're a paragraph each, but I'll read it so you can hear it and be processing it. And then we're going to talk about what we already know, what knowledge area, that it's not a knowledge area and it's not a task. We're going to talk about which one can we eliminate. It's like that's talking about project management. That's not even talking about business analysis. Or that one, I recognize that quote. We can go ahead and just answer that one. And then we're going to keep track of, you're going to keep track of, this is something I need to go back and look up. Okay. All right. I encourage you to have a composition book, a notebook, something to be able to write down things as we're going through the test questions, because you're going to say, I need to go back and look at 3.3. I need to go back and look at the definition of this thing. And that's going to give you the great information so that you can move on and really take it in and not skip it. You don't want to end a couple of chapters and go, I don't remember what I'm supposed to go back and look at. I don't know where my gaps are. You don't want to do that to yourself. Give yourself the gift of keeping track of things. What questions do I have so far?
I have a question. and a comment, it sounds like it's easier to fly internationally than it is to get to an exam. But my question is, I second guess myself all the time. I can read a question and feel like I know the answer and it's right, but I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'll answer it this way. Bonnie, I feel like Bonnie knows what I'm talking about. Does going through these study guides, does that help? Will we still feel that way at some point? That's like the worst probably that I get.
I think everyone doubts themselves sometimes, but you'll gain confidence as you answer questions right. It's like, I knew that. I knew that. I love it whenever I was taking the test and I was like, I know the answer. I know the answer. It was great because you
It builds the
learned it
confidence.
so well. Yeah, you gain confidence. And as we go through practice test questions, you're going to gain confidence.
And
Okay.
Thea, can I also offer that some of the questions were tricky? And when I say that, the walking through some of the test strategies that you had spoken of earlier, use the flag, number one, to flag it.
Mhm.
Next, the process of elimination. If you get down to your 50-50, you'll feel so much better, and chances are you'll have less doubt. I have to say, for me, it was I refused to take that exam a second time. I was determined to pass that exam. And you know, I had every kind of crazy, like I said, situation you can think of. I literally took the day off from work. And I just said, I'm doing it. Whatever's happening, I'm passing it. I went in, and I kid you not, I probably had maybe 5 questions that I had flagged. And a couple of them, I was just like, I'm really not sure. I went and I was like this, I trusted myself. I hit the button. I was like, and it said, you passed. I screamed. I scared the entire room. The drama, I felt so bad, but I was so excited because, to your point, I didn't doubt my answer. I flagged it and I was like, what does your mind say? When I got down to those last 5, I was like, okay, whatever that is, select it. And then I was like, that's it. And I hit the button, and next thing you know, I had passed. And I tried to convince him. I said, can I take a screen? So he was like, no, you cannot. I said, how long can I look at it? He said, you can look at it, but you can't take a screen. Yeah. But I was so determined. Let's put it this way. Once you take the exam and you pass, and you have to convince yourself that you will pass on the first, and to Thea's point, believe in yourself, put the work in that is necessary. Me, I'm a year from recertifying. I don't want to be at the end of that. So I'm happy to participate. I was always going to come back to IIBA Tampa because, like I said, this is my home. This is where I was nurtured, you know, in preparation for my exam. And a part of, you know, what I want to do in addition to just being a part of this is, you know, be a bit more involved. And that's me talking to Thea later. But the thing of it is that you do have to put the commitment. I put a schedule on my wall because once the clock starts ticking, you're holding yourself accountable. And that really is critical.
Right.
Yeah. And that's all I wanted to say, but don't doubt yourself. If you are not sure, just flag the question, come back to it. Don't get stuck, move on to the easy, you know, and we'll get into all that later, but just don't doubt yourself. Just flag it. And then when we're moving through the course, we'll deal with it. But yeah, so
Thank you for that.
of course, don't ever doubt yourself.
I'm always right, like on the first try. It's just like I'm like, why did I go back to it? I knew it, you know.
Nope, just flag it and move on.
You will learn as we go through practice test questions of it doesn't do any good to double check yourself. You know, it's like, here's the answer. Let's talk about as we approach the test. We have a long time between now and then. 6 months sounds like a long time, right? And I'm saying to you, put in your 6 hours a week. Be consistent. Find the time that works. Find the method that works. I'm saying all the words, right? But I want you to think about as you approach the test. I've got a week before my test. How do I want to feel? Do I want to feel like I know I've put in the time? I know that I've taken in all this information. I've leaned into the classes, I've participated, I've been in the conversations about why that answer's wrong or why this answer's right. I've learned from the other people that have different values and different strengths than I have. I have taken all this in. I want to have the confidence at that point, the week before the test, instead of the panic of, oh no, I kind of just let everybody else answer the questions and I didn't really put in the time and maybe I shouldn't even take it. Don't do that to yourself. Give yourself the gift. And let me say it like this. I'm here because I believe in the value of this studying. I believe in the value of consistent people coming together and creating even the relationships of having the conversations and getting to know each other. People that have been in my study groups have been friends for years after that. And it's not that they have to be your best friend, but it's like we did this together. You know, we had this thing in common. We're struggling together. We're moving together. I know that this will make you a better BA. I know that this experience will make you a better person in some ways because you're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to fix some things about yourself, maybe fix some habits. You're going to take in new information that you didn't have before. You're going to be able to apply things to your work and to your future jobs that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And it's going to give you some confidence that maybe you didn't have before. So we're going to do this together. I don't get paid for doing any of this. I don't get any of the money. This money all goes to the chapter. So that's one reason we wanted you to pay a little bit so you have people value what they pay for, right? And a lot of it goes to the book that we're going to send you. If as I told you, and I'm very sorry, the man is on vacation. I didn't give him permission to go on vacation right now. He didn't ask my permission, but he's on vacation. He'll be back in about 2 weeks. We'll get the book shipped out to you. I'm confident that what we are learning in the very beginning right here, you can learn out of the BABOK. There's no question in my mind. However, whenever you get the other book, you're going to be so happy because it's like, this says it differently and I understand it better, or I understand it differently and I can understand it from 2 different perspectives. So we'll get all that out. Whenever you register for this class, we do need your mailing address if you haven't registered. If you're in the United States, we'll be sending the physical book out to you. If you're not in the United States, we'll be giving you the PDF of the book. If I could figure out how to get the physical book to you without having to spend, a whole bunch more money or something, I'm going to do that. But right now, that's the best I can offer. Get the BABOK on your own if you don't have it. If you want the physical copy, you have the PDF from the IIBA, and you have a whole bunch of stuff on the IIBA website. Oh, let me say this to you. 10 years ago, we rewrote this book. It says version 3 on it. You're going to see stuff online that they don't say it's not version 3 because it came before version 3. It's been online for 10 years. It's for version 2. So whenever you're looking at Quizlet or flashcards or SlideShare or whatever else that you might find that's going to give you information, be sure it says version 3. Because once version 3 came out, it was a big deal to say it's version 3. If it doesn't say a version, check it, okay? And I'm happy to work with you. In the back of the BABOK, it will tell you the differences between version 2 and version 3, okay?
I have an old copy of version 2. It matters. It matters, folks.
It's very different. Amal, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you so much for pointing about the different versions of the BABOK. I'm just guessing, assuming that the exam is also mainly based on the version 3.
It's only based on version 3.
Okay, because sometimes, well, I did, to be honest, I didn't buy any watermark materials yet, but still, it is easy to find some old questions. Some questions are not really making sense based on the version 3. So on the
Yes.
exam, those questions will not be there.
The version 2 exams will not, version 2 questions will not be on the version 3 test at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sandra, you have a question?
Yeah, is it possible to give you a different address to send the book to? I registered with my work address, but I work from home, so I'd
Sure.
rather it come to my house. How would I get that to you?
Actually send it to me on LinkedIn would be the easiest way to get it to me. And that way we don't have to worry about spelling emails right or something like that. Let me, my name, let me put my name in the chat. That way you
Okay.
can see the spelling.
Awesome.
Chat.
Thank you.
Here, this is my name.
Chat.
Ironically, I have to spell my name right for you to get it there. This is my name, and I am extremely active on LinkedIn. I have 3 different groups that I've started that I manage on a daily basis. I've started the BA Force Multipliers, which is a worldwide leadership group for business analysts. Our job is to tell stories about how business analysis has helped people and companies and projects so that other people understand what business analysis is, the value of it. Also, the purpose is to empower people to realize you have the power to raise up the people around you. The term force multiplier is this: if you stand out on a field by yourself, you have the power of 1 person. But if I give you the right instruction, the right techniques, and the right equipment, you now have the power of 20 people. What we do as business analysts is we equip people to be bigger than they are, to do more than they could do before. We automate the mundane, repetitive processes. We show them something that they didn't see before. We fix problems that they needed fixed so that they can go on and do the creative, wonderful stuff that they have bandwidth and knowledge to do, but they were being held back because they had to write this report every day, or they had to do widgets or something like that. We show them that they can be better than they were before. So that's what the BA Force Multipliers are. If you want to link to me on LinkedIn and talk to me that way, I'm on there literally 7 or 8 times a day. So I'll respond. Let's see. Your assignment for this next week is this. If you are a member and you receive an invoice for the non-member price, it should have a check mark on there that says member. And I think you're supposed to put in your member number also for IIBA member number. Tamara, did you see that? Or is it something that we need to work on offline?
May need to work on that offline. I might have missed something.
It's okay. It's okay. I've discovered as an extrovert, I look at things and make decisions too fast and I miss things sometimes. That's me figuring out what my weaknesses are and figuring out how to make it better. So Tamara, maybe you are taking after me in a little bit too far ways. Check it. And if you're still having trouble tomorrow, let me know. Okay. Okay. How many of you feel like this is going to be beneficial to you? Raise your hand. Okay. If you feel like it's beneficial to you, do you know anybody else that might be beneficial to also? I'm not going to be able to teach this class 50 more times, but if we can get twice as many people in here and we can get people really participating, we're going to all benefit from it. Now, I'm not saying, go and spread the news, but if it's good, tell the people you care about. If you know somebody else who might benefit from this, let's get this done. After we get started, we go through chapter 1, chapter 2, it's pretty much getting too late to start because you really need this basis. So we want them to get on board now and then we'll work together. Yes, Rejoice.
Thea, I've asked for the registration link for a friend of mine that is interested in joining.
Okay.
I posted in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw the message.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Let me see. Am I still sharing? I don't think I am I? Can you still see the screen? Okay, in that case, I'll show you where to go. IIBA Tampa Bay. This is our homepage. If you go there and you go to our events, chapter events, and you scroll down to today's date, this application is lacking. Instead of having a meeting here and a meeting here, it's going to look like we're having meetings for 6 months total. So sorry. But if you click on this, Rejoice, they can register right here. Okay, so you can send them this link. I'll drop this link in the chat.
Thank you.
everyone in meeting. There's the link and everyone can take it. If you are interested in this, you don't have to, but if you feel like this would be beneficial to other people that you know on LinkedIn, drop that link on LinkedIn on a post and let people know. As I said, I know I've taught literally over 500 people this material. I think I'm better the more classes I teach because I learn new things. It's like, oh, we should do this. We should add this. Let's try this. So let people know about it. And if we can get a couple more people in here, they can probably show us something that we don't know yet. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached our time in honor of the time commitment that you gave me. I'm going to honor that and end it on time. Next week, have study chapter 1 and 2. It's not hard. If you're not used to studying, you're going to feel like it's a little hard. Be patient with yourself. If someone that you loved were having the same trouble you're having, you would give them encouragement and not condemnation, right? Okay. Treat yourself like somebody you love. And we're all going to get through this together. Okay? See you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Bonnie.
Okay, quick question. I got my invitation. It says $120. Is that what it's
Okay.
supposed to be for, even though I have the membership?
If you're an IIBA member,
I am.
let me just open this up. So
Yeah.
$120.
Oh, I have to go to the site. Yeah, I was
Yes.
looking at the email. Yeah.
Proceed to check out
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
your
Yep.
payment.
Yeah, I have my member number. Yeah, I was just looking at the invoice like in my email.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. So I'll do that. And did you say that Watermark? I'm not sure if you said Watermark the book is going to be spiraled or no?
The book is not going to be spiraled. It's
Okay.
hardbound.
Okay. Yeah,
Which
but I like
means-
that idea. I may have to go to a FedEx or something because we don't have any internal printing. Yeah, I love
So
that
I'm
idea.
looking at this and I do not see the place to put in your member number or that you are an IIBA member.
I had to, when I did it this morning, I said 120 first, and then I went back and logged into IIBA, and then went here, and it recognized the 100.
Okay, so you have to log
Awesome.
in there first. Okay.
Log into the IIBA to get the IIBA price. That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Sandra, thank you so
So
much
go
for
up
that.
here to member login.
Ah,
And it shows your name there and then go
Gotcha.
down into this
and then it should.
and let's
A
see,
quick
register,
interruption.
and there's $100 instead.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm
And
I'm afraid that she is talking about an email. Perhaps she got it like as a technical error.
Yeah, okay.
so
I mean,
let me talk about the $100
invoice that you
invoice.
received, I have received it too, and that is just because of tonight's event. I
Okay.
believe that is not a
Okay.
real invoice. Hopefully, she can clarify.
So
Okay.
our chapter, I joined it 4 years ago, and for a long time we were running on shoestrings. We had no money, we had no bank account, we were just teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching, and we weren't worrying about all the other fancy stuff that other chapters did. However, we have gotten better in some ways. Some people don't appreciate the progress, but we now have a bank account so we can do stuff. We can have scholarships. We can do stuff. We can go to conferences and have a banner instead of having no banner because we have no money. We were learning about how to use Zoom and something called Member Nova, which is the IIBA's way of managing people, sending out automatic emails and things like that. Well, we discovered with Member Nova that if you do something wrong, it sends $100 invoice to 300 people, and suddenly it said we had $30,000, and I'm like, we are the best. We can raise money like nobody's business. They're gonna hire us. Then we had to send out the oops email. It's like, sorry, nobody got mad, and thank goodness. But it was an error on our part because we were learning a new system. And I have no doubt that that's not going to be the first and last mistake that we will ever make, but we're learning. We're going to get better. But that's why you got the $100 invoice, and it's like, what?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on. You know, ask questions, be the BA, ask
the BA.
questions.
Yes. Yes. Okay, guys. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thanks,
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Leah.
Bye.
Thank you.
If you do put a post on LinkedIn, if you
Yes.
want to tag me in it, I will comment and add my 15,000 people that follow me to your post,
Oh,
you
wow,
know, so
you're
that they
awesome.
can see what you do. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Thea.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
y'all. See
Thank
you later.
Have a great day,
Bye.
folks. Night or evening, depending on where you are.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good time, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you.